We had a third and a fourth and one more question over there.
Ma'am, in your introduction, you told us that actually education is a collaborative activity. And also that now, as you mentioned, that values we also have to impart along with the knowledge given in the books. So when it's a collaborative activity, in that case, do we include only the formally recognized collaborative members like parents, teachers, and administrators? Or we also include the informally, indirectly, the groups which are participating in it, for example, the government policies and media, etc. And imparting values also, do these sectors play their role like government, media, and such groups, or only the parents, administrators, and the teachers? This is what I needed to ask. Thank you.
All these questions, in a way, are indicating the concerns, really, that people have got about education, educational environment, and what education is really leading to. This collaborative approach is within the institutional environment and within the larger community of learners. You see, learning is not limited, and if again we go back to our Islamic history of education, we will see that learning was not limited within institutional context. Learning was not limited to age. Islam was the first religion. I always, when I say in the West, people sort of sit back and say, oh, did it? I said that was the first religion which gave the philosophy of life, which gave the concept of mass education, which gave the concept of lifelong learning, which gave the concept of learning for all, and learning being a must. And these days, I mean, these are now coming forward in the West over the last 20, 30 years as the sort of new concepts. No, they are not new concepts. They are philosophy of life given to people about 14 centuries back. And they indicated collaborative learning, not learning limited within the four walls of an institution. No, learning in the open mosque concept where the Prophet taught to all the people from all the ages and actively engaged in debate. You see, engaging in debate is another concept which we think is a Western concept. If we go back to what was happening in the Masjid-e-Nabawi, you will know what happened there and how people challenged the authority and asked the questions and got the answers. And they got explanations. So these collaborative concept of learning, it is again not a new concept. It means involving everyone, parents, educators, society, whoever is possible, within your own context, within your own resources. Obviously, it will differ if it is a city, if it is a rural, and I keep emphasizing context. It doesn't mean that we just pick systems from, say, whatever is happening in Lahore, well, we can make it happen somewhere in rural Sindh or rural Balochistan. We can't. We have to think of, and that is the role of the leader, to think what can possibly be done within that specific situation, learning, teaching situation, to generate collaboration, to bring forward people. Perhaps in some contexts or in some cultures, subcultures, it won't be possible to bring in mothers. So after students, it might be difficult to invite them, perhaps in tribal areas, to bring in mothers to involve them in learning, teaching for their children. So you have to think ways and create ideas, how to involve people, how to create maximum collaborations. And on the other hand, there is technology. The wide, vast world of technology, how that can be used. I mean, we use discussion boards on the virtual learning sites, we use blackboards, we use DL materials, we use all that sort of learning. But is that applicable to tribal areas? Is that applicable to flood areas? So that is my answer, is that collaborative learning is, as a concept, needs to be applied in the context.
Thank you very much. Since we have run out of time, but we've got two questions, so very short questions and very quick answers. Ji.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for your discourse on education this morning. My name is Kasuri and I'm with Beaconhouse, Islamabad. A new paradigm. We keep hearing about it. It is on. A new paradigm. We keep hearing about it. Yet the world continues on a self-destruct path. Panelists tell us that they have the solutions. Yeah, real-world solutions are somehow lamentably lacking. I've tried to follow the Bangladesh development model a little, and I feel that the greatest impetus to development in education in Bangladesh was provided by two organizations, both led by very dynamic individuals, Dr. Yunus and Professor Abid. Both these organizations were created and took a holistic view on development. They targeted aspects like women's empowerment, population planning, microfinance, and poverty alleviation, and were resultantly able to impact education profoundly. Recently, BRAC's been given about 600 schools in tough areas like Afghanistan and Darfur. Maybe the real question should be, should education be left to educationists alone?
Sorry, should education be?
Left to educationists alone.
Should education be left to educationists alone? Thank you. Maybe we can just do a quick yes, no on that. It would be interesting to hear what the panel has to say. Dr. Hawley, yes, no? No. Norbert, what do you think?
Just to say, as wide a pool of expertise to be brought to bear on that particular problem, I think is important.
Dr. Shah, what do you think? Yes, no, should education be left to educationists alone?
Should be left
to educators or educationists, or no? No. Tom?
Mrs. Kasuri said a few minutes ago that the goal of education is to give everybody to the ability to learn, so absolutely not.
Okay. Dr. Hoodbhoy, what do you think?
Education is about reproducing society, and society will not permit it to be left to educationists alone.
Absolutely. We have one last question from Mr. Shahid Hamid.
Question is to our foreign guests, any of them, all of them. We in Pakistan are living in a country at this moment which is about half illiterate, perhaps a little more, maybe a little less. What I want to know from you is, how long ago did your countries achieve universal literacy? And from the time you made it a national goal to get to universal literacy, how long did it take? What did you do to get there? And any suggestions that you may have for us to get there in a hurry?
So the question was, how long did it take your countries to get to universal literacy? So the US, yeah, how long did it take the US to get to universal literacy? But when does one start counting?
I'm sorry, to get to what?
To 100% literacy. We have this notion in this country of literacy, being able to read and write. So it's a difficult question because people may already have arrived in the US literate, so one doesn't know. You know, they came from other countries, I'm assuming. So what does literacy actually mean? So what does literacy mean?
I think from my personal perspective, it's important obviously to acknowledge that even the most developed societies do continue to have a challenge in relation to ensuring that its entire population is fully literate if literacy is defined in a traditional manner. But I think it's also very important to bear in mind that as new developments happen, particularly as new technologies develop, we are having to start to think about literacies rather than literacy, and be aware of the fact that new literacies are emerging all the time. So I think no society anywhere in the world has got the luxury of just sit down and be proud of what it has achieved, but to be very mindful of the fact that these new challenges are continually being posed.
Thank you, Norbert. I think we've reached the end of this panel. I'm just going to try to summarize very quickly. Actually, there are 2 or 3 very important questions, critical questions, which we left out. So, and I know it's extremely unfair, but we have this this show here. Well, it's not here actually, it's in India, and they do these rapid fire questions. So I'm going to do the rapid fire thing, and I know you're educationists and you like to qualify everything, and you don't like to say yes or no. But very quickly, yes or no, do schools kill creativity? Dr. Hawley, what do you think?
I'm sorry, do schools
Do schools kill creativity?
They certainly can.
They certainly can.
They certainly can.
Okay, Norbert?
I'd agree with that.
Okay, Dr. Shah, do schools kill creativity?
Depending on the schools.
Depending on which school. Okay, Tom?
Bad schools do, yeah.
Bad schools do. Dr. Hoodbhoy?
Our schools do.
Our schools do. Okay. Of course, that doesn't include Beaconhouse.